about the government, about the direction the country is taking, but not discussed in public. What does this mean? What does it mean? The revelations of the whistleblower website Wikileaks. Some two cables specifically we are focusing on. The cable that quotes Kabaka Ronald Muwenda Mutebi, and another cable that quotes Captain Mike Mukula. Of course, we have seen the feelings of members of the diplomatic corps about senior government officials and the general direction that the country is taking. With us to navigate through some of those things, former spy chief, I don't know if he likes to be introduced by that, former spy chief David Pulkol. David is a senior official with the Uganda People's Congress. David, very nice to have you on the hot seat.
Good evening, listeners, and nice being here, Charles.
We also have with us another a former head of political desk in the Internal Security Organization, Charles Rwomushana. Charles, very nice to have you always on the hot seat.
Good evening, listeners and viewers around.
Gentlemen, the broadest question I'll put to Angelo as we start out. We have known the thinking and the feelings of some of these senior officials, either in the ruling party or in government or other positions of influence, be it cultural or otherwise, and they have kept these closely guarded. They've kept some of them closely guarded, and for what some people say, they keep up appearances, playing diplomatically, trying to navigate through the waters. And in what they think are private conversations, Julian Assange has blown open, and now we can get into their thinking in these private discussions that they hold at night with ordinary Ugandans. What does this say about the general state of the political establishment and the political thinking in the country?
Well, it's really about the information economy, right? Because if anything, what we read in these cables is not new or shocking. I got a flash on the internet when they first came out, and I woke up in the middle of the night to spend like 4 hours reading them a couple of days ago. What surprised me actually is, in the case of the American embassy or embassies around the world, especially the one here in Uganda, is in fact how little they know, how limited their access is. If you look at the content of those cables, in fact, I was looking for Tim Kaliegira, who sometimes wants to give the impression in his writing that foreign governments and their agencies are omnipresent, or for that matter, omnipotent. In fact, the cables tell a very different story. They tell a story of an embassy that is struggling for access, and that whose exposure to the government or information in government hands is extremely limited, and whose ability to do complex political analysis, is very limited. And I think that there are implications here. Certainly there is room for us to ask questions about how foreign policy is conducted in these circumstances.
David, let me turn it over to you. You spent a lot of years looking for information, in information gathering, as well as Charles. You've spent a lot of time doing information gathering. And what Angelo is saying, the belief that Timothy has, which to some extent I believe, is that a lot of the information we spend a lot of time struggling to get is actually available to us. It is about how you analyze it, how you interpret that information, and how you place it in what context. What is your reading of the latest leaks and the access, these the kinds of insights, if at all, that these diplomats are trying to give us?
Well, I think if you were to play back some of our discussions in 2003, 2004, after the Chankwanzi movement conference, where the president and others around him really worked so hard to convince us that they need to remove term limits. You realize that I appeared on your show, and I think the person navigating was Desiree, the lady.
Mm.
And I remember saying, if the Museveni of 206, of 86, came back and met the Museveni of 204, I was asking a fundamental question: would the two Musevenis recognize each other, or actually one would arrest the other? Because already, as you rightly say, as somebody who's been an expert in plotting these signals of information, the trends, patterns, to see whether it's a straight line or it's a curve, and be able to advise leadership, I have had that opportunity. So even by that time, it was clear that actually the emperor, as Nagenda put it, is naked. But I remember that even Mugisha Muntu told the president in Chankwanzi to mind about his legacy. Okay? Legacy is personal. You're about to destroy your legacy in Uganda. And I remember the president saying, what is legacy? We have worked for it. We shall always work for it again. So therefore, and then you remember when the term limits was removed, a number of us said this third term is going to become sad term. Sad indeed. I think Salamu Sumba was really among the people in the front on that. So what's happening now is sad,
By the way,
sad indeed.
You said very many things, including no change.
Listen, but that was the time when the system was still listening.
Why change?
Listen, so what is annoying here is that at that time, they told us they wanted us liberated. They wanted us free. They wanted us united. But today, they are the very people who are disuniting the country. They are the ones who are tormenting citizens. At that time, citizens were wananchi. These days, they are hooligans. Now, let me come back to this.
David, I
want to come back to this point you're just asking me. The point I'm saying is that all these revelations that are coming up are revealing to one thing, which I had also told the president at some point, that the coup that we've been fearing, which intelligence organizations have been trying to prevent, a coup which upsets a constitutional order, that coup has already occurred. So what you're seeing is that there is a government within a government which is creating discomfort, shitting here, shitting there, that kind of thing. If you heard my comment recently when I was saying, has the country gone to the dogs, or the dogs actually came to the country, and now they are showing their true colors? They camouflage. Okay. So what is this discomfort?
David, you were an intelligence analyst. You headed the country's external security organization for some time.
Twice.
I provided guidance, and of course, what was it? It was about to make sure that
could you help
nobody
us,
uses unconstitutional means.
Could you help
to upset
us and our listeners navigate through the meaning of information like this, which is also a process of intelligence gathering in one or the other?
What I've already told you, if I was to plot this, it means there is an elected government, okay? But there is another government within a government that was usurped, whose personal interests and parochial interests have become paramount. And therefore, public interest has been put in the back burner. Today, the 9th Parliament is struggling, okay, against these personal interests, okay, and therefore trying to represent the views of those who have elected them. And yet, there is a coup. The coup makers who have taken over government and are propelling their personal interests are now against the majority of people. Even on Magbira, you can say, for example, even on term limits, for example. But if you are to ask individuals quietly, privately, they will say what Nagenda is saying, they will say what Mukula is saying, they will say what the Kabaka is saying, all of privately, but they are not able to say it loudly.
Charles,
so, and that's why they are going to Chankwanzi.
Charles,
to beat them to line.
I have seen a lot of intelligence reports. As a journalist, we access them and we can find them and read them. These leaks from Wikileaks, these cables from diplomatic cables, are accessed almost in the same way, because most of them are stamped confidential, and the American government and the British government were keeping them top secret without revealing them because of
if it is not them who revealed them.
If it's not them who we need to go with the assumption that Julian Assange accessed them whichever way he did. But they reveal the thinking, the honest thinking of some top people in government. Intelligence reports are supposed to primarily extract that information.
True or false?
Are you surprised by what you see in some of these cables?
Anyway, if you could allow me comment on briefly what Mr. Pulkol was saying. You know, the NRM is a race. When you're in NRM, is have you gone through before
a very senior member of the party told me exactly that people were jostling in the corridors.
When have you gone to Chukubo?
I do.
People who carry merchandise on their head say fast, and he will say he's carrying iron sheets when he's actually carrying a book. So that you give away. That's how it is in NRM. It's a very serious race. You must be physically fit, and sometimes those who get exhausted are panting and give way, and that's where Mr. Pulkol and I belong. It's very serious.
You panted and gave way?
No, you don't give way. That's why you see he's still panting. We continue panting.
No, as far as I'm concerned, I went back home.
And Nagenda now is panting. Many more others will pant. Of course, I don't know whether in 1995 Pulkol would say what he's saying, even putting on the T-shirt of
2001, 2002.
2005. When we made the constitution, that was 1995.
Yes. We thought they meant what they said.
That time it was
evil. Now,
put on a car of UPC.
I was actually narrowing your scale to 2001, 2002.
Yeah,
broad-based has become bread-based.
It was even evil, not let alone say criminal, to put on the car of UPC. But that he puts it on
proudly,
and you walk on the street, shows that there is some bit of shift, and that is where you get recruited into the race, like this MTN marathon. People have not going to run 20 kilometers and then they get exhausted.
I began my training today.
Be that as it may, what you see there is not intelligence. If for government, and more especially like a gorilla like President Museveni, who organized the guerrilla warfare and captured the government, was to run business like this, he would be finished. He wouldn't even last for a week.
Can we come back to that discussion after a short commercial break?
Let's get back to
people beat very serious.
We'll come back to that after a short commercial break.
KFM Hot Seat.